It's Wednesday, November 17th, and this is now on HNN.
How fast will it take to fill those positions, the vacancies? Do we need more positions? Where should those positions be?
The agency tasked with protecting at-risk keiki is grappling with funding issues and staffing shortages.
Where are those resources going to come from?
We have new details about the construction of the long-awaited Aloha Stadium project.
I'm Meg Oliver in New Jersey. Businesses are struggling to find workers. As the holidays quickly approach, we'll show you what some companies are doing to entice holiday helpers.
These stories, plus 2 men convicted in the assassination of Malcolm X, are set to be cleared after more than half a century. These details coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for watching This Is Now. You've got Jonathan here, and Ashley is back with us on this Wednesday. Let's get to today's top stories.
That's right. The state health department is reporting 8 more residents have died after contracting COVID-19, bringing Hawaii's death toll to 985. There are also 142 new infections today. The breakdown by island shows 94 cases on Oahu, 15 on the Big Island, 13 on Kauai, 11 on Maui, and 9 residents diagnosed out of state. Kauai County is separately adding 19 new COVID cases. And we have new developments regarding Hawaii's visitor industry. Jonathan and Howard have more on that.
All right, we wanted to bring in Howard Dykes now because we got some tourism news and travel industry updates that we need to pass along, and they're not looking good, right, Howard?
That's right. The U.S. Travel Association has put out its official forecast they do twice a year, and they're now saying that next year, when we were hoping for a full rebound from the COVID slump, that they expect only 76% of 2019, pre-COVID 2019, and that's a national prediction. They're predicting a 3-year timeline for resumption of normality on international visitors and an even longer timeline for business travel to bounce fully back.
And I know you might not have this answer, but what is the holdup? What is really stretching this out?
Well, I think the answer is nobody knows the answer, because usually when you make economic forecasts and revise them, it's because you have data that you compare to what happened the last time you went through the same thing. Well, it's been since 1919 that we've been through anything remotely like the same thing, so nobody knows. So when you hear that there's a forecast, that sounds so decimal pointed specific, but they're just guessing.
Yeah, and in 1919, I don't think we had as many commercial airliners out there as well.
There is that, isn't there?
Yeah.
But the Spanish flu was the last thing we had that was even remotely similar, and it actually lasted 3 years. 1919 was the worst, but there was a little bit of leftover in 1920. And there were many similarities, but as you say, the technology is different, the level of the tourism industry is different, the level of U.S. economic dependence on tourism is way different.
Huge. And really no comparison. Where is this forecast coming from? You said the U.S. Travel Association.
Yeah, they're a national lobbying group for hotels and so forth. You can trust their numbers to be as accurate as they can make them, but they also want to be careful not to sound too glum because they don't want to have an adverse effect on hotel stocks. So this was an interesting report where the words they put out were actually kind of optimistic, but there was nothing optimistic in the numbers.
And while we got you here, Howard, can you give us an update on our visitors from Japan?
2%. Right now we're getting 2% of the number of Japanese arrivals per month that we got in 2019. So there's no sign whatever yet of a Japanese rebound.
Howard Dykes, always great to have you here in the H&N Digital Center. Let's toss it back over to Ashley for more news.
A federal judge has sentenced the man known as the QAnon shaman to 41 months in prison. Photos of Jacob Chansley went viral after the January 6th Capitol riot. He appeared shirtless, wearing face paint and a horned, furry headdress, while he led others through the Capitol shouting into a bullhorn. Federal prosecutors asked for a long sentence so his case could be used as an example, and they said he showed little remorse after the attack. In September, Chansley pleaded guilty to a felony charge of obstructing congressional certification of the 2020 vote.
Now to an update on the case against Nick Oakes. It may be resolved before it even goes to trial. The Hawaii Proud Boys founder pleaded not guilty in February to several charges connected to the Capitol riots in D.C. But now court documents say he is in, quote, an active consultation about a possible resolution after the government filed new evidence. The next court hearing is expected in January. New today, 2 men convicted in the assassination of Malcolm X are set to be cleared after more than a century, with prosecutors now saying authorities withheld evidence in the civil rights leader's killing, according to the New York Times. The paper reports that Muhammad Aziz and the late Khalil Islam, who spent decades in prison for the crime, were being exonerated after a nearly 2-year investigation by their lawyers and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. A court date is expected tomorrow.
We're learning more about the adoption of Ariel Kalua and the COVID rules that limited the state's oversight before the 6-year-old disappeared. Now that her adoptive parents are charged with murder, lawmakers are pushing for changes in the system. Lynn Kawano has more.
Among the issues being discussed by lawmakers, more funding for child welfare services and what that funding should be used for.
Isabella Ariel Kalua was adopted on January 26 by the people now accused of her murder, Isaac and Lehua Kalua. Once an adoption is final, privacy rules mean state social workers no longer check on the former foster child, but they were required to check on the siblings who also lived in the Waimanalo home and were still being fostered by the Kaluas. But COVID-19 restrictions reportedly kept the workers away, forcing some visits with the siblings to be online only, limiting access to Isabella Ariel. The child's murder has legislators wondering if more attention to the department is needed.
Do we need to increase the number of child welfare services workers? Do we need to put more resources into intake? Also, additional resources maybe into community awareness.
The same problems, lack of funding, lack of social workers, services. We're not able to, answer the calls to the community.
Staffing is an issue. There are currently 1,081 active foster child cases. CWS has 170 social workers, but there are 45 vacancies. While the number of cases per worker is on par with standards, about 7 to 8, the intake calls can stretch the department. About 250 of those come in every month. That's potential outcries of abuse or neglect that need to be investigated.
How fast will it take to fill those positions, the vacancies? Do we need more positions? Where should those positions be? And where are those resources going to come from?
Representative Ryan Yamane chairs the House Committee over the Department of Human Services, which includes CWS. He says the Kalua case highlights the need for deeper conversations about the current system and requirements.
The legislative session starts in January, but Yamane says they've already been in discussions with leadership at the Department of Human Services. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
All right, guys, today we're getting a big update on what's happening there at Aloha Stadium. Let's bring in Casey Lund. Casey, what's the deal?
Well, we have some new information that came in just fresh this morning. We were reporting it on Sunrise, but what's exciting is that we got some new artist renderings of what this project might look like. But more importantly, we got an idea of the timeline, a little bit updated timeline here. They believe that they will break ground sometime in 2023, so in the next couple of years. The project here is only 25 acres for the stadium itself, but that does not include the 75 acres that is around the stadium. That is going to be what we call massive new Aloha Stadium Entertainment District. That's going to include things like shops, restaurants, retail stores. That is going to be a much larger project because they'll need to put in a new sewer system. That could take 2 decades to really complete. But what's exciting about this is that they think that they'll be able to bring in some major league sports. Soccer, possibly the National Rugby League is looking at making the new Aloha Stadium its home. So all that's exciting, but still, this is a huge project and it's not slated to get started until 2023. The new developers that are trying to bid on this project have to submit some more detailed plans sometime next month.
Very exciting stuff with that professional sports news there. Casey, what about the funding of all this? How's that looking?
Well, right now, the state's only set aside $170 million. We've talked to some of the state legislators that are involved in this project. They know that they still need to go out and secure more funding. That is only really half of what they'll need for the entire price tag of this project, what the state's going to need to put in. So it's still an uphill battle trying to secure that funding, but they are confident that with the excitement building, not only with some of those major sports leagues coming in, but the entertainment district and what might be possible in this area surrounding the stadium, that they'll be able to secure that funding and really get going on this sooner.
And Casey, I know what's happening right behind you. I think right now, the swap meet, a lot of people wondering what's going to happen with that.
Well, you know what? We have actually been in the swap meet the last time we were doing this story on NACID, and we talked to a lot of people there that have been told that they're going to be allowed to stay here during the construction, that the plan is to keep them up and running during the construction and after it. But a lot of them are a little skeptical. That has yet to be seen. They have gotten pushed around from time to time by different projects here. So they're still a little concerned that they'll actually follow through on that promise to keep the swap meet intact. But for now, that's what this new plan includes, keeping that very, very popular attraction here, not just for locals, but visitors as well, right here at Aloha Stadium throughout the entire project.
All right, Casey Lund, I hope you're hopping over there to get me something for the holidays. Looking for a good gift there.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate the update.
Now there's a lot going on Capitol Hill, and to break it all down for us, we're joined now by Greta Van Susteren. She is the host of Full Court Press, as well as Hawaii News Now's chief national political analyst. Aloha, Greta. Good to see you. We'll get right to it.
Aloha to you.
Yeah. Now, when is the House expected to vote on President Biden's Build Back Better plan?
Well, Speaker Pelosi says Friday. And of course, she has said other dates earlier. And it really does look like Friday would be the big day. What the big holdup is there are some moderate Democrats who said that they are not yet sure they're going to vote for it. And Speaker Pelosi, to get it passed, can only afford to lose 3 Democrats because there's such a razor-sharp margin in terms of Democrats and Republicans in the House of Representatives. So she needs to satisfy those Democrats. And the way she satisfies them is that every bill in Washington gets scored by the Congressional Budget Office. That essentially tells the Republicans and Democrats, whether or not this is good, how much this bill is going to cost us, and whether any sort of taxes in the bill will create enough revenue to pay for the bill, or what we can really basically expect. And what the moderate Democrats are saying is that if this is essentially a revenue-neutral bill, meaning essentially the taxes in the bill will pay for it, then they will vote for it. And we're expecting to get the final scores from the CBO on Friday, and Speaker Pelosi will get that bill so fast to the floor if it comes out from the CBO in terms of favorable numbers for her.
Yeah, Hawaii Congressman Ed Case is one of those moderate Democrats waiting for that CBO report. Now, if the House does vote on it, what are the chances the Senate will pass this?
Well, I don't know. It goes from the House to the Senate. And there are 2 senators who've been quite vocal about it. One is Senator Manchin, who has seemed to be he seems to be more, in recent days, seems to be more interested in voting for it. But Senator Sinema, another Democrat from Arizona, says that she won't vote for a bill that raises taxes on corporations. Well, that's the way it's going to be paid for. So I don't know if she's going to change her mind should the bill get passed in the House and make its way over to the Senate. But in the Senate, just like in the House, they can't afford to lose anybody. I mean, the House, you can lose 3 Democrats. In the Senate, they can't lose 1 Senate vote. So if Senator Manchin votes no or Senator Sinema votes no, it will not pass in the Senate. It will be over at that point. So all eyes are on those 2.
All right, we'll be watching that closely this week. Now, Greta, what else can we expect on the horizon on Capitol Hill?
Oh, brother, well, in about 15 or 16 days, as you may remember, our government spending stops. We had this problem about a month ago, and the House kicked the can down the street a ways, and they've set the date for December. And so we've got to worry about government spending. The government could shut down if the Congress doesn't figure out what to do about spending. And that's obviously a real problem. And then about 10 days after that, according to the Secretary of Treasury, Yellen, is that we hit our debt ceiling again. That was raised, if you remember, about a month ago. It was raised a certain amount, but not a whole lot. And she needs to have that ceiling raised so that she can borrow money so that she can afford to pay our bills. We owe a lot of money. We owe a lot of countries a lot of money. We owe a lot of Americans a lot of money. And so those 2 events, government spending, and if they can't figure it out, there'll be a shutdown in early December, and also the debt ceiling. So all eyes are on that here in Washington. And I may note, as a good citizen is that the House and the Senate were on recess last week, despite the fact that they've got these two deadlines looming, and those are deadlines they themselves set.
Yep, a lot of big dates coming up. All right, Greta Van Susteren, thank you so much for always taking the time to keep us up to date on what's happening on Capitol Hill. Mahalo.
Thank you.
All right, now let's take you outside live from our tower cam, and there's a development there. I see some blue sky out there. Is the fog going away? I don't know. Let's check in with Guy Hoggy to get the update.
We're going to have another day with light winds, and that means more fog, more haze to some extent. But, it's not going to be much of an issue because by tomorrow, trade winds come back in. So today we could see some clouds building up in the afternoon hours, perhaps a few spotty downpours, widespread rain, just not in the forecast. Now the surf's getting a boost today up in the country. It's going to be good for some north-facing spots. Laniki is the hot spot today, 5 to 7 feet. There are more swells heading into the country, but the biggest one coming in on Thanksgiving Day, they could be close to advisory levels. So again, a few spotty showers today, maybe hazy, a little foggy at times. And then tomorrow the trade winds come back in, getting stronger on Sunday. In fact, on Sunday, they'll be quite breezy.
Well, retail sales are starting to rise as many Americans start to do their holiday shopping, but businesses are really struggling to meet the demand and find enough workers. Meg Oliver reports.
We get a little bit here and there, but we just really aren't getting the responses we used to get.
Jessica Woodward runs Montclair Bread Company. She doesn't usually hire seasonal workers, but this year she's relying on them to stay open.
It's going to be a little crazy next week, especially for Thanksgiving. That's our biggest one to get through, but we'll get through it.
She's working extra hours to get by and turning to high schoolers.
Could you stay open on the weekends without your high school employees?
Probably not forever, or not always. We can handle it in the short term, but it's just like all our other staff would get burned out.
It's not just mom and pop shops that need more employees. Big retail chains are expected to hire around 600,000 seasonal workers to keep up with the growing demand, according to the National Retail Federation. Amazon is hiring 150,000 new employees. Kohl's needs about 90,000, and UPS needs to hire more than 100,000 workers. Larger companies are also offering more incentives to attract new employees. Amazon, Walmart, and Macy's are among many raising wages and offering signing bonuses, healthcare benefits, and even tuition reimbursement. But many small businesses can't compete.
And I think that's what the customers getting frustrated with service being slower in places, have to understand that that's the way things are going to be right now.
Businesses like this bakery are facing a perfect storm with increased demand, staff shortages, and rising prices for ingredients like flour and shortening. Meg Oliver, CBS News, Montclair, New Jersey.
She's talking about those prices rising. I went to get my daily can of Red Bull yesterday.
Yeah.
$3.05.
What is it usually?
It's usually in the $2 range. It's never been to the $3 mark, so that
Yep.
has to be an impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about something else expensive. Check this out, guys. Another one of those auction records we're talking
wow.
about. Yeah, this is a really cool one, too. The work by the late Mexican artist Frida Kahlo has set a new record for the highest price paid for a painting by a Latin American artist. Very cool. Her 1949 painting, Diego and I, sold at auction for $34.9 million. Woo! It is her final self-portrait, which she had many. You've seen these all around. Its title indicates there's a second person, and that's who you see there on the forehead. Mm-hmm. That is her husband, Diego Rivera. The couple shared a very complex relationship. If you ever saw the movie, it is a very good one. They divorced in 1940, 11 years after they wed in 1929, only to remarry in that same year of 1940. Very interesting artist.
Yeah.
Interesting story. Again, great movie. And very cool painting, $34.9 million.
Pricey.
A little pricey.
Yeah. Well, Buckingham Palace released video of Queen Elizabeth. She was holding a meeting with a government official at her home at Windsor Castle, the first time the British monarch has been seen since she was forced to change her official schedule because of a back sprain. Now, the 95-year-old queen was shown standing and smiling at Windsor Castle, greeting her guests. Over the weekend, she had to skip the Remembrance Sunday service in London because of her back trouble. But good to see she's looking good.
And do you see your little puppy there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got to replay the video because it's just too cute. I love her. Corgis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she does look great. And a great print
Yeah.
she's wearing there as well.
Lindsay Lohan, remember her?
Oh,
she's
yeah.
back in the news with a Christmas movie. So the former child actress is set to star in a brand new holiday-themed romantic comedy on Netflix, but it's not coming out until next holiday season. Doesn't even have a name yet, and the pic Lohan tweeted is the only visual available to date. But a few details about the plot are getting out. So according to Variety magazine, Lohan plays an engaged hotel heiress who finds herself being taken care of by a handsome lodge owner after suffering amnesia during a ski accident.
I don't know her co-star there. I've never heard.
Yeah. I mean,
welcome back, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the world.
Glad to see she's working again.
And another note from Netflix, Tiger King 2, out today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, there's a very interesting story coming out of Texas. It's another world record. This time, we're talking Star Wars. Here's your good news now.
My biggest obsession is definitely Darth Vader.
From watching the first Star Wars movie, Bill McBride became love-struck with the villain.
There was just a lot that resonated with me about the character. I just thought he was just so cool and so mysterious. I was like, wow, this guy is like so cool. And that was really it. So I was just immediately fascinated with the character. And I think that was the start.
Decades later, McBride now has over 70,000 pieces in his Darth Vader collection.
So these are actually original watercolor.
McBride's collection ranges from one-of-a-kind helmets and paintings to action figures, but with such a large collection came an even larger investment.
I guess the two best answers are, one, probably too much money, and two, like at today's market prices for the value of what the collection is, I'm very open about it. I couldn't afford my own collection today.
The most he has spent on one item is 5 figures, and that investment earned McBride the Guinness Book of World Records largest collector a few years back. One item he takes pride in is an original stage performance helmet from the Super Live Adventure in Japan. The mask was one of few modified to give the actor complete visibility.
I absolutely love, it was offered to me by a good friend of mine, and he knew it was going to a good home. So it's kind of checks all those boxes. You know, it's a super significant piece in its own right, has the sentimental value and just the history behind it.
A fascination with Darth Vader that started when Bill McBride was just a boy has now turned into a global sensation. Although over 30 years in the making, he tells me that the passion behind it may never die.
You know, it's something that still brings me joy and still, truly makes me happy to do it. I mean, we all have our hobbies and our interests, and it's just something I truly enjoy.
Yeah, and I truly enjoy as well. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Always have been.
Oh, yeah.
Always will be, and I'm excited for more movies to come. So his collection's only going to keep growing and growing as the
Exactly.
franchise grows and grows and grows. I was just on a plane last week, as were you, but when I was on it, I saw some kids walking through with their handmade lightsabers from the new Star Wars attractions at Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Which people love.
And people love the Baby Yoda thing, too.
Oh, yeah. Not quite as big as it was last year for the holidays. But speaking of big for the holidays, real quickly, we got this.
Starbucks Red Season continues with their free limited edition reusable cups. So the coffee chain is giving out the red cups tomorrow while supplies last. Customers just have to order a holiday or fall drink. And it's a nod to Starbucks' 50th anniversary because the cups are made with 50% recycled material. Now, John and I are not big Starbucks people, but apparently there have been lines out of the doors for these collectibles.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Starbucks. That's going to do it for This Is Now. Ashley's back first at 4 on KHNL. Have a good one.
Aloha.